Hello, it's Kirsty, and I solve crimes using astrology. First, we're going to look at the depositions of Terry Hobbs.
This deposition is taking place at the law offices of Huckabee, Munson, Rowlett, and Moore, 400 West Capitol Avenue, Suite 1900, Little Rock, Arkansas. This is case number 409CV0008 BSM, entitled Terry Hobbs versus Natalie Pazdar individually, and Natalie Pazdar, Emily Robison, and Martha Seidel, doing business as Dixie Chicks. The deponent is Terry Hobbs. This deposition is being taken on behalf of the defendant. Your court reporter is Kelly Hill.
All the emotions, the stress, the anger.
That her statements caused you.
Correct.
They certainly weren't things that you had never heard before, is it?
No.
And in fact, they are things that had been said for years and years about you, isn't it?
Some people say.
Well, I mean, you've said in press releases and in the newspaper that these are things that had been said time and time again against you for years and years. Isn't that right?
It is.
Matter of fact, you said you've previously testified, you've been quoted in the newspapers as saying that the press was out to get you for years, correct?
I had to see that quote.
Well, that's something that you've thought, isn't it? That the press has been out to get you for years and years?
No, I don't think I thought that.
Well, you filed a grievance against Mr. Reardon, didn't you?
I did.
And who's Mr. Reardon?
He's the defense attorney for Damien Eccles.
All right. And when did you file that grievance against him?
I'm not sure of the date, but probably 07, 08.
All right. And the reason for that is because you think he's out to get you.
No, I think their actions were out to get me.
Well, you say, isn't it true, Mr. Hobbs, that from basically the time of the murder and the murders and the trial and the conviction and all the appeals that have gone forward since that time, you've at least been at the center of this controversy about who killed the boys and were the boys wrongfully convicted?
Objection calls for a legal conclusion.
No, you haven't. That hadn't been a controversy.
No.
Why do you say that?
Why do you say that?
Well, I get to ask the questions here, sir.
Because it's not a true statement.
Okay. So there hasn't been an ongoing controversy about whether or not the West Memphis Three killed the three boys.
Objection calls for a legal conclusion.
Is that they're beginning to go in the direction of the murders and he doesn't like it.
Calls for a legal conclusion. Mr. Hobbs is not required to define what a public controversy is or what a controversy is.
Ted, we're going to take the deposition by the rules, which means you get to say objection 4, period. And I will also be honest in that in reading these materials, looking at your police interview, reading your journal, listening to what other people said, it's still unclear to me as to what happened that night. So I wanted you to tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, in your own words, what happened that night and what you did from when you got off work until the 3 little boys were found. I want you to tell us in your own words what happened. Can you do that?
Doesn't look like it, does it?
I can.
Please do.
But I'd rather not.
Well, I appreciate that you'd rather not, but I need you to.
If you had to relive something like this.
Mr. Hobbs, you've brought the lawsuit. You chose to relive it. And so I want you to look into that camera and tell the ladies in the jury, under oath, what happened that day and what you did.
I did what a parent would have done.
I want you to walk me through from when you got off work, what you did and what happened until the little boys were found. And I apologize if it's hard to relive. I have 2 little boys of my own, and I can only imagine.
No, you can't.
I can only imagine the pain.
You cannot.
Well, maybe I can't. But I've lost a brother to sudden death as well. So I think I have a little empathy, maybe not as much. But I need you, since you brought this lawsuit, to look into that camera and tell the jury what happened.
As a parent, I come home from work May the 5th, 1993.
Yes, sir.
I noticed that one of my children was not at home. I asked my wife, "Where's Stevie?" He's gone off riding his bicycle with his friend Michael Moore. I did what any other parent would have done. I'd go outside and look down the street, seeing when he's supposed to come home. He's supposed to have been home by 4:30. Didn't see him on the sidewalk. Pam cooking supper, wife, had to be at work by 5 o'clock. We don't eat supper because Stevie's not home. We always eat supper together. And it comes getting close to 5 o'clock. We decide to go ahead and take Pam to work.
That's you and Amanda?
Me and Amanda and Pam.
And Pam, you and Amanda decided to take Pam to work?
We all 3 decided that it's time for her to go work.
Between 4:30 and when you got home, it was time to take Pam, other than walking out and looking in the street. Did you do anything to find Stevie?
Not before then.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
We take Pam to work by 5 o'clock. We stopped over at the Moore's house.
Pam worked where?
At Catfish Island Restaurant.
Okay.
In West Memphis.
How long did it take you to get from your house to the Catfish place?
Roughly 10 minutes.
Okay. And did she get there right at 5 or a few minutes before?
She usually tried to go in a few minutes early.
Okay. And then you and Amanda then went back to your house?
We stopped by the Moore's house, Michael Moore's parents' home, on the way over there to take Pam to work.
Were they home?
No.
Did you
Her daughter was there.
Did you rang the bell and talk to the daughter?
Pam might have. I'm not sure if it was me or Pam that done that.
Okay. Well, Amanda was what, 4?
Correct.
So you sat in the car and sent your 4-year-old to the door?
I said Pam.
Oh, Pam. I thought it was. Well, no. Hold on now. We
were on our way to take Pam to work.
Okay. Well, my question before. I apologize. My question before had been before you got home, after you got home, and before you dropped Pam off, what you had done other than go outside in the street, and you said nothing. Now you and Pam and Amanda stopped at the Moores on the way, or was that after you dropped Pam off? You can see why I'm confused, Mr. Hobbs.
On our way to take Pam to work, we stopped at the Moore's home.
Okay. So Pam was still with you at that time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And
Terry Hobbs did
Pam
say that, and
Moore's house. One of us did.
You were Pam,
this investigative dude missed it because I heard him say that. So
their daughter was there?
Yes.
And no one else was home. Stevie obviously wasn't there.
Correct.
Okay. And so, and then at that point, you went from the Moores to the Catfish place?
We did. Took Pam to work.
And you got to the Catfish place a little bit before 5, and it took 5 minutes to get from your house to the Catfish place. Where's the Moores in relation to the route you would have taken from your house?
They're en route to her.
Okay.
From our home to her work.
Well, do you recall what time you left your house to stop at the Moores?
No.
Okay. All right. So you and Amanda drop Pam off at 5 o'clock. And then
roughly.
You go, roughly.
My first question astrologically at that time is going to be, did they go to the Moores? And if so, who went and knocked at the door?
And then you go back home. You don't stop at the Moores again, right?
I stopped at the Moore's home on the way back to see if the boys had made it there.
Okay. And
they were not there.
Did you go to the front door, or did Amanda?
I did.
Okay, so now you went to the front door. And was just the daughter there still?
Yes.
Anybody else there?
Not that I could see.
I'm curious why he went there twice.
All right. Then what happened?
Well, we ride around the neighborhood looking for them because we know they're on bicycles.
So you and Amanda drove around the neighborhood.
We did. We did that for a while.
Do you recall how long?
No, I don't. But anyway, we're riding around the neighborhood looking for our little boys on bicycles. We don't find them.
Did you know who Stevie was with at that point?
But he was supposed to have been with Michael Moore. That's all I knew.
Okay.
So we go
back. Where did you drive around looking?
Our neighborhood that we live in.
Okay.
West Memphis.
All over West Memphis.
In our neighborhood.
Does the neighborhood have a?
It does not.
What would be the boundaries of the area in which you searched then, Mr. Hobbs?
From our home to his home.
To the Moore's home.
Correct.
And where is the Robin Hood area? Where's that in relation to that?
Robin Hood was behind the Moores and Byers' home.
Okay. Okay. So you stop at the Moores, no one except the daughter's there. You drive around with your 4-year-old daughter for a while.
Right.
Then what happened?
And we go to back to our home, and we park the car, and me and Amanda walk around the neighborhood.
Do you recall about what time that is, sir?
No, I don't.
Was it before 6 or after 6?
I don't recall.
Okay.
But we're riding around the neighborhood.
Obviously makes it tricky when he doesn't recall any of these times, which is a lie because he recalls every one of these times. He's recited this story so many times. Sometimes he just uses keywords and doesn't even say a full sentence. So he knows what time.
Or
Right.
walking around at
Thank
this
you.
point, seeing if we could hear them, see them or something, and we don't. So we go back to our house, and Don Moore's pulls up in my driveway.
Do you know about what time you went back to your house?
No, I don't.
In any sense, 7 o'clock, 6:30, 7, 8, 9?
No, I don't.
Was it light?
It was still daylight.
Okay.
But
So you went back to your house, and Miss Moore then came to your house.
she pulls up in our driveway.
Okay.
And she asked us if Michael Moore's at our house, and I said, no, it's Stevie at yours. She said, no, but I'm heading back to her house, or she's heading back to her house. And I said, we'll follow you over there, see if the boys are there. We get over her house, the boys are not there, and we're standing in her front yard talking, and here comes John Mark Byers walking across the street. That's the first time I met John Mark Byers.
Do you recall about what time this was, sir?
No, I don't. He asked, is Christopher over at the Moore's home? And we, Don or Dan speaks up and tells him.
Who's that?
And David Jacoby and his wife Bobby, they had little kids also. David goes with me, and we start riding around looking for the little boys.
Now, as you'll see coming up, that's a lie. He tries to backpedal away from it, but I have spoken to David Jacoby, who has told me that he was teaching Terry Hobbs to play Pretty Woman on the guitar that day. So they weren't looking for the boys.
At the same time, the Byers, Mark and Melissa, are riding around looking for their boy. And we continue this for all the way up to the next morning.
Okay.
It's conveniently a huge, big hole in that story.
I need to fill in a few in Mr. Jacoby's house.
No, I don't.
Do you recall how, and you and Mr. Jacoby drove around in a car looking?
We did.
Your car or his car?
Probably mine.
Okay. What kind of car were you driving?
I don't remember.
He does remember. He's a liar. Everybody knows what car he was driving.
Where'd you drive around?
The whole city of West Memphis.
Just in your neighborhood?
The whole city of West Memphis. It would take a fairly long time to drive around every street, and that's something that I'm going to have a look at and see how long it does take to do that. Let's see if that fits in with this timeline.
Good, or just all
The
over?
whole city of West Memphis.
Okay. Did you play any Guitar Hero while you were at Mr. Jacoby's?
I don't recall. I don't remember that.
You don't remember playing Guitar Hero at Mr. Jacoby's for a while?
Not that day. I don't remember.
You used to play Guitar Hero a lot at his house, right?
No, never.
Never played Guitar Hero at his house?
I played guitars at his house,
Okay, guitars. I'm
but
sorry.
not the game.
All right, I apologize. Do you recall playing guitars at his house that night?
No,
You don't recall, or you didn't?
I don't recall.
How could you not recall, instead of looking for your missing son, playing Pretty Woman with your mate, high as a kite? Yeah, okay.
Did you smoke any marijuana while you were at his house?
No.
That night?
No.
Did you do any other drugs while you were at his house that night?
No.
While you were out looking for the boys, prior to the time that you went to pick Pam up at work, did you ever find the boys?
No.
If somebody testifies,
I'm just going to forward it a little bit because it's very
Most
long.
definitely. Pam told me 4:30.
okay. You never gave Stevie permission to stay out later that night?
And I never seen Stevie that day.
Okay. Did you talk to Stevie that day? When did you call the police to report that your son was missing?
When we picked Pam up from work.
Okay, so this is the other timeline timestamp that I have. 9/11. Terry Hobbs calls the police from Catfish Island from Pam's work. And he doesn't remember when, of course, but this person asking him questions does. So this is our next timestamp.
Which was
9 p.m. May the 5th.
9/11, exactly. Correct.
Okay.
Does that sound about right? That you made the
I don't
call at
remember.
9/11?
I know we called from Catfish Island when I picked her up at work.
And at that point, Stevie was 4.5 hours late?
4:30 to 9.
Why didn't you call the police sooner?
I was busy looking and just thinking he was playing at some boys' house.
And busy playing guitar and then off to do something else.
Were you mad at him?
No,
You weren't?
Now, this just goes off into some diatribe about how he's a great dad and was never mad at him, but we know now that he was severely abused.
Walking around in the woods?
at different times, yes.
Did you ever end up walking around in what's referred to as Robin Hill?
We've done that.
So you and Mr. Jacoby got out and walked around in the Robin Hood Hills area prior to the time you picked Pam up, looking for the little boys.
Well, I'm not sure if we went to Robin Hood, but we was all over West Memphis looking for it.
Okay, that's just insane. Robin Hood Hills isn't that big. I'm going to show you on the map now. So, now that you've seen that, could you honestly say that he wouldn't know whether him and David Jacoby walked in there? Now it's different now than it was back then. Here's a shot of it back then. Still, well, let's measure it. Okay, so according to this dude, he went everywhere in West Memphis
but isn't quite sure whether he went to the place where his stepson was found. Okay.
My question to you, sir, is when you and Mr. Jacoby were looking for the 3 little boys, prior to the time that you picked up Pam, did you get out of the car and walk around the robin?
I'm not sure.
Wouldn't that be something that would seem to be something that you would remember if that's where the little boys were eventually found and you were there?
You know, I haven't watched this deposition in probably 6 or 7 years, and I could virtually, and the people that know the case could answer the way that he's going to answer and ask the same questions. It's not hard to see that he's avoiding so much.
So it's your testimony, you can't recall if you searched the area where the 3 little boys were actually found?
Correct. No, we didn't.
I'm sorry?
You did.
We didn't.
You didn't? You didn't
see,
search the area?
Where they were found, like you said, no.
What about that general area? Did you get out of the car in that general area?
Is this question still referring to the same time frame?
The same time frame.
15 minutes ago.
Absolutely, Ted.
Yeah, I don't recall. I'm
You
not sure.
You don't
But
recall?
we were in and out all over town, getting in and out, going different places, looking for our little boys.
Okay. And then anything else that you did other than drive around with Mr. Jacoby, in and out of the car, different places, prior to the time that you picked up Pam?
Not that I recall.
Okay. You picked up Pam, 9 o'clock. She came out with some candy for both kids.
Correct.
And did you tell her that Stevie was still missing, or did you walk right past her to make a call?
No, she come out with 2 pieces of candy, and she said, "Where's Stevie?" And I said, "We hadn't found him yet."
And then what did she say?
"He's dead."
And what'd you say?
"Don't say that."
Then what happened?
One of us went and called the police.
Who?
I don't know.
You don't remember if you called
Give me a break.
the police or Pam called the police?
Sure don't. Don't care.
You called.
He doesn't care. Well, my puppies are causing a fuss now, and we all know what that means.
Police, didn't you?
Couldn't tell you.
You don't know?
Don't know.
Do you know what the police were told when they were called at 9/11?
Mm-mm.
You have to answer out loud.
No.
Do you know what the police response was?
They came out and took a police report
Came out where?
to Catfish Island. We were still there when they came.
And how long did it take for them to get to Catfish Island?
I'm not sure. Wasn't long.
He is just never sure of anything. Okay, I'm going to move it along a bit.
Who was looking?
This is really interesting and really important to listen to. He's putting himself at the scene very clearly here.
For Stevie at this time, while you were waiting at Catfish Island for the police to show up?
Well, I don't know who was looking for Stevie. I don't know.
To your knowledge, was anybody?
I don't know if there was anyone out there looking for Stevie.
Was anybody looking for the other 2 boys as well?
You would hope.
But you don't know that.
Correct.
And then the police came to Catfish Island. You made a police report, right?
We did.
And then what happened?
We leave Catfish Island. We go to Robin Hood with the police.
Why'd you go to Robin Hood with the police?
That's the last place that we had heard that someone had seen them.
Well, wait a second now. Who said that they had seen the boys at Robin Hood?
A lot of people.
Who?
I don't know their names.
Can you give me one person who told you prior to the time that the police came to Catfish, who told you that they had seen the boys at Robin Hood?
No, I cannot.
Well, And you told the police that they were last seen at Robin Hood, right?
That's what had been told.
Who told you? And then when you say
I
we, that's
couldn't
what
tell
somebody
you.
had told you.
Exactly.
And who had told you that the boys were last seen at Robin Hood?
I'm not sure of their names.
Well,
A local.
where did you find these people?
We were going door to door, or people out in their front yards, ask them, "Have you seen 3 little boys?"
On bicycles.
Well, yes. Someone had told us that we'd seen them going into Robin Hood.
And do you recall? You don't recall who that was?
No, I don't.
It was someone in your neighborhood.
Knowing the neighborhood of Robin Hood.
Was it a man or a woman who told you that?
Seemed like it was a man.
Do you recall? And I take it you don't know that person's name.
Correct.
You know how old that person was?
No.
Teenager? An elderly person?
Older person.
Kind of old like me or old like my grandfather?
I couldn't tell you, just older, an adult.
An adult. Okay. And was this between 4 and 6 before you went to the Jacobys that somebody told you this? Or was this when you were with Mr. Jacoby driving around?
It was before I picked Pam up.
That's not my question.
I'm not sure of your answer.
Well, that's not my answer. It's your answer. I want to know, did the person who told you that they had last seen the boys in the Robin Hood area, was that before or after you went to Mr. Jacoby's house?
I'm not sure.
Were you alone searching for Stevie any time between 4 and 6 o'clock?
No.
Were you alone searching for Stevie any time between, well, let me back up, between 4 and 6, it was you and Amanda?
Me and Amanda, after we took Pam to work.
Okay, and Amanda at this point was 4?
She was.
And between 6 o'clock and, say, 7 o'clock, were you alone at any point in time looking for Stevie?
No.
It was
Not to my knowledge.
It was always with Amanda
Amanda or David.
or Mr.
There
Jacoby?
was a time I picked David up.
And then you were with David from the time that you dropped Amanda off at his house until you went back to his house to pick up Amanda to go get Pam. Is that your testimony?
I was with David and a lot of other people from time to time.
He was not with a lot of other people from time to time. It's come out over the years that there's nobody he was with. So his generalities is ridiculous.
And the other people were the other people in the neighborhood looking for the 3 little boys.
Yes, sir.
After you picked Pam up, you went back to your house.
We went to Robin Hood first.
Robin Hood first with the police.
Correct.
Did you go into the woods?
We did.
Did you see anything?
Woods, growed up brush. We did.
Did you see anything?
Woods.
Now, please, somebody answer this question for me. Anybody. If a police officer went there, I'm assuming it took them maybe 5-10 minutes. I've got a police log, I'll look it up. So at about, I think it was 9:19, the police got there roughly. So then they would have gone to Robin Hood Hills by 9:30 at the very latest. The police and Hobbs went in to Robin Hood Hills but didn't see anything. But also, his lie is just evolving so much. It's that a little while ago he said that he was with David Jacoby all night long, and now there's a period of time where he wasn't and he went to Robin Hood Hills. He's absolutely full of it.
Growed up brush.
how long were you at Robin Hood with the police?
I don't recall.
Long time or short time?
Short time, because it was coming up on their shift change.
Do you recall when the shift change was?
No, I don't.
And how many police officers were with you and Pam and Amanda and looking in the Robin Hood's area?
Well, first of all, Amanda wasn't there.
Well, I thought you went straight from Catfish to the
But I
Robin.
think she sat in the car. I don't think she got out.
Okay, but she was with you in the car but didn't get
Okay.
out. Okay. And then you and Pam and the police officer got out.
Mhm.
How many police officers
Yes.
were there?
One,
And do you recall who that was?
Regina Meeks.
And how long did you don't recall how long you spent there?
No, but it wasn't long.
5 minutes?
Maybe that or a little longer.
And then after that you went home?
I believe we did.
What'd you do when you got home? Do you recall what time you got home?
No, sir.
Approximate?
No.
Do you have any idea, a sense of how long between the time Pam had gotten off work until the time you got home?
No, no.
What happened when you got home?
Well, we changed clothes and went back out.
Pam changed clothes out of her work clothes.
She did.
And you changed clothes?
Probably. I don't remember.
Why would you have changed clothes?
I said probably. I don't remember.
If you changed clothes, why would you have changed clothes?
Because I wanted to.
Why?
I don't have a why.
You just did?
If I did, it's because I wanted to. I might have had on nicer clothes and wanted to put on something that wasn't so nice, being out there in them woods.
So now he's saying that he might have got changed because he had to go back into the woods, but he didn't know that they were in the woods. Okay, let's skip past a whole bunch of this rubbish.
So we
This is
went back
interesting.
to Robin Hood.
Direct off from the Jacobys.
Well, I'm not going to say direct.
But that was where you were, that's where you ended up.
It was.
Do you recall about what time you got to Robin Hood with you and Mr. Jacoby and Pam?
No, I don't.
So now he puts himself and David Jacoby at Robin Hood Hills that night.
Did you get out of the car? You guys get out of the car?
We did.
Did you walk back in the woods?
Yeah. We did.
Were there areas of the woods that you just didn't go back in because you didn't like the feeling?
You just didn't. We didn't know what was out there.
That's not my question. My question was, were there parts of the woods that you have said that you just got a bad feeling and you didn't want to go back into?
Yeah.
Describe that for me.
Well, it's dark. You don't know what's out there, so you just don't want to go out there.
But your stepson's out there.
We didn't know that.
You know he's somewhere.
We didn't know he was out there.
You knew he was out there missing.
We knew he was last seen going. Someone said they had last seen him going in there. We did not know he was out there. Somewhere.
Okay, now this is really interesting. Listen how he backtracks about how he didn't even go to Robin Hood Hill with the police.
I couldn't tell you.
When?
Couldn't tell you.
Is that before or after you'd been to Robin Hood the first time?
Probably after. Well, I know it was.
The first time was with the police.
Right.
And then
First time might have been before the police when we was in the neighborhood
with you
walking around.
and
Might have been before the police.
And some of the neighborhood locals.
Okay. And then you went back with the police.
Correct. With Pam.
Okay, so now he's been to Robin Hood Hill 3 times. Once by himself without police with David Jacoby at roughly 7:30, I'd say. Another time at about 9:30 with Regina Meeks, the police officer. And then another time later on with David Jacoby. Okay.
And then you and Mr. Jacoby and Pam. Was that just the 3 of you? And then you went back a 4th time? Or did you have your father-in-law and a bunch of other folks there?
We were in and out of Robin Hood all night long.
Well, ain't that a shooter, eh? They were in and out of Robin Hood all night long. And where was the three boys found? Robin Hood. Bullshit, Hobbs. Bullshit.
Okay. And at one point, Mr. Jacoby had to go home because he had to be at work the next day, right?
Correct.
And what time was that? Did Mr. Jacoby?
AM, early AM.
No. What time did you take Mr. Jacoby back to his house?
I'm not sure.
Before midnight or after midnight?
After.
Okay, therein lays my suspicions of what happened. He was with David Jacoby. He's lied. David Jacoby is now recanted on his alibi, but has opened his mouth a few too many times. Now, my theory is that he was in Robin Hood Hills when the boys were there. He went back to Robin Hood Hills to make sure that the boys were not going to be found. And then when he went back with the police, he made sure that they didn't go to the right area.
Before 2 or after 2?
Not sure.
Sometime between midnight and 2?
Before daylight.
It's not my question.
I'm not sure.
Before 2?
Not sure.
After you dropped Mr. Jacoby off at his house, you and Pam went back to your house?
Seemed like we might have.
Well, you did, right? That's what's in the journal. That's what's been testified to. That's what you told the police, right?
Okay.
Well, I'm not... Okay, that's what you told the police, right?
All right.
And then what happened?
Well, we go to school the morning of the 6th. Where the boy...
There's actually about
You're still under oath.
to 9 hours of this.
Why do you think the little boys were killed?
Don't know why.
You think it was something that got out of hand? Or you
I
think
don't
it was
know.
planned?
I don't know.
Do you ever tell anybody that you thought it was something that got out of hand?
I don't remember that.
You ever telling anybody that didn't think the people could handle the truth of what happened?
I don't recall that.
You don't recall that?
Mm-mm.
If somebody testified that you said that, would they be lying?
I'm not sure.
In your journal, you said that the boys were overkilled. What do you mean by that?
The medical examiner made that statement. I was just repeating him.
Okay. So it's okay to repeat things that are said in court?
I did mine.
I'm sorry?
I did mine.
I still didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I did
You did.
repeat his statement.
And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, is there?
I don't know.
Well, you didn't think you did anything wrong when you repeated what the medical examiner said in court, did you?
That's what he said.
I
Did
don't
you
know.
think you were saying or doing anything wrong